Yo, what's up, dudes? Where have you been? It's the summer. You know, we've had like the worst weather here in the Northeast. It's like we have just been on a humidity train for like the whole summer. And this whole week it's going to be there. It's like this is the Plexi. This is TH2. I can hear my pick come through it a little bit, but I don't know that I can avoid that. I can't seem to isolate the audio. Gotta remember, my old camera had automatic dialogue control. This doesn't, so I have to crank the mic up, and it stays on even when I'm playing the guitar. So it picks it up. But it doesn't have that awful compression. Yeah, boy, you can really hear that, huh? So I've been looking at other cameras. I don't know. I gotta think about it a little bit more. I can get the cheapest camera. That camera that my old camera was 150. That camera was like 160, like refurbed. I think they're normally about $299. My old camera, even though it's tiny, I've found out in my research recently, since my last video, the sensor in this new camera, this Canon camera, is like less than half the size of the sensor in that Kodak camera. So, in terms of sensor size, and that does make a difference, this thing is like a 1/4.7. I think my other one is 1/2.5. Pretty. I mean, I'm pretty much twice the size. Oh, so this summer's just been the worst. I got my AC is on nonstop. It just can't. By like 5 or 6 a.m., it'll just finally get to where I have it set, and then it starts a whole new day. Then it'll ramp up about 10 degrees above to where I have it set, and then the sun will set, and then it'll cool off all night. But it's still, I mean, it's still 20, 25 degrees colder than outside. And we had a crazy situation going on here. This is probably the first night I've been able to turn my fill lights on here. They're pretty bright. It's about, I don't know, 400 watts worth of power per light, about 800 watts of power for the two lights. So they're pretty bright. And I had a massive yellow jacket nest in the wall, like right over there. It's mainly sealed off, but there was one little escape hatch. And a couple of nights ago, I tried to kill them with some over-the-counter stuff, but it didn't work, so I just called an exterminator. And he came right out and gave him a blast earlier today, and he used Termidor. And I was like, wow, breaking out the big guns, huh? You know, that stuff not even legal to buy in Massachusetts unless you're a pro. But I've had it in the past. You can buy it off of eBay. And it's fipronil, which is the same ingredient that is in Frontline, right? If you have a dog or a cat, that stuff is like miraculous. Like it attacks a nervous receptor that mammals don't have, neither do most birds. Fish have it though, so it's highly toxic to fish. Like super, super toxic. Which is probably why you can't buy it, because some knucklehead around here would run down the river and empty a bucket in there. They don't care, you know. Be like, just cleaning out my bucket. So, the guy showed up today. He sprayed up the Termidor, and you check it in like an hour, no change. You check it in an hour after that, and now it's down to like, instead of like constant stream, and it had to be 1,000 wasps in there, and just going crazy. Now it's just like one, and so I go around the side of the house, I take a look, and there's like a bunch on the outside, and they're like walking in circles. There's a bunch on the ground, spinning in circles. I'm like, looks like it's starting to take effect. Go back a couple hours after that, and it was just wiped out. Funny thing is up behind me here, like right up on that shelf, I have a bottle of Termidor that I got a couple of years ago. It may be past its shelf life, but I used it for carpenter ants. But apparently it's okay to use for wasps too. We had a guy come about 5 years ago, and take care of a wasp nest in the same general area, but just a few feet down. He had trouble getting rid of that nest. So I thought this was going to be, just as bad. So I get up this morning, take a shower. We have an 8 o'clock appointment. I'm having a cup of coffee. I see him pull up about 15 minutes early. So I go out there, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And I see the big bottle of Termidor in the back. I go, Termidor, huh? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, are you in the business? I said, oh no, but I'm familiar with that product. I've used it for carpenter ants in the past. He's like, yeah. So he started talking about different stuff out there, talking about, what is it, Tempo 1%, and all the suspended concentrates and the wettable powders. And he goes to do it. I said, so what are you spraying today? Now the last guy used like Tempo 1% dust and probably like some sort of a spray, like a combination of dust and spray. He's like, I'm using Termidor. I was like, oh, okay. Just one, boom, out. That stuff works, man. It really, really does. And the funny thing is when you put it on the back of your cat or your dog, and this is not this, it's, even though the active ingredient is the same, knuckleheads out there will sometimes use the Termidor, and they'll try and put it on their cat and dog, and they'll like kill their dog or their cat. The one that they use for cats and dogs is, chemically produced in such a way that instead of binding the soil, it binds to the fatty tissue in their skin, and it acts basically like a prophylactic, right? So like fleas and ticks just, they don't even realize they're dead before they know it. I mean, that stuff is just brutal. The reason why it's so effective is for termites. It's a real, like, what do they call it? Like a transfer product, right? It's a non-repellent, so it doesn't have a smell, a taste, or anything. It's a silent killer. I'm so psyched. That bee's nest was killing me. I probably have a dozen dead wasps down here. I can see 2 right there on the floor. do wasps do anything anyway? I mean, bees are useful, but what the hell is a wasp good for? Nothing. Wasps, what are they good for? Absolutely nothing. So it's been a little crazy here. Baseball camp last week. My daughter's in like drama camp. My wife is off for the next 2 weeks. See you on the other side. Get this cool pic somebody on YouTube sent me. It's a red bear, this little Jazzer Plus. If you can see that there. See it? You see it? It's right there. Come on, right there. There. No, there. It is supposed to be a substitute, one of the closest substitutes for tortoise shell. Now, when I was a kid, that was all the legend. Tortoise shell had been banned for years before I started playing, and you couldn't get a tortoise shell pick even back then. But they were legend, right? That was the thing that everybody sort of was going. Celluloid was the replacement. But they claim this material, which is some sort of synthetic. Actually, I think it actually is maybe an animal product, now that I think of it. An animal protein. But it is a pretty, a smooth pick, right? So if we listen to this, like, here, I'm here. You can hear it when I touch the string. There it is. All right. But if I scrape it across, not a lot of sound. All right. Here's the pick I would normally use. This is a Dunlop. Here it is. I'll tap it. Same thing. But here I'm going to scrape it against the string. Much rougher texture. And the same with well, that's probably a bad example. Here's a good one. Here's a wooden pick. That's rosewood, right? Yeah, it's rosewood. And again, it's got this, real. Sounds like the opening of a few Van Halen tunes. All right, just scraping it against. Whereas the tortoise substitute, nothing. You can hear it hit it, but real no. And it's got a super pointy tip, which I like, actually. The Timber Tones, which is the brand I use most, have that very pointy tip. My standard sort of like commercial pick is the Dunlop Gators, the 2mm. But it's got a much more rounded tip. It just takes a few seconds to get used to it. Go back to this. So I didn't have much to talk about. I've been super busy. The kids out of school. It's like I'm trying to squeeze in my work in between shuffling them around. Though I'll have a little relief these next couple of weeks, but now is the time I have to crank out the work, a good one. This is a keeper. It's got good attack. Fooling around with that in the jam a couple of weeks ago. Playing a whole bunch of tunes, and every once in a while I'll just go. Alright guys, I didn't have much of an agenda tonight, other than to say I'm still around. Just as, you know, it's the summer, and what is it? It's not no-mo, that's no motivation. I have what's called like negmo, right? Negative motivation. That's where you actively avoid things to do. So, as far as the replacement for my camera, Panasonic makes one that looks interesting. At least it has a larger sensor than my last camera, just slightly. I think it's a 2.3. 1/2.3. My old camera was 1/2.5. This Canon is 1/4.7. That's pretty crazy. You know, compared to my digital my digital SLR, the DLSR, which I've tried to use for a video, but I have an earlier one. I have like the T1i, and its video is pretty crappy. You know, I'd have to get, I think that I have the 1, I think they're up to the 5, so I'm like 5 models ago. So, you know, I might get the Panasonic. That one does not have a remote, but at least it's under $500, and I can start it and stop it wirelessly with my phone. That's replacing remotes. Will be the remote control using the wireless phone. A Canon has the same thing, but every review says the same thing, that doesn't work. The Panasonic one, not every feature works, but certainly remote controlling the device, zooming, starting, stopping, playing back, all that all works just fine. So we'll see. But until then, I'm still remoteless, so I still got to get up and get over there and turn the goddamn camera off. And here I go and rack on. Gotta admit, that top is pretty sweet, though. Swing. Oh.